I want to stick with prostate cancer if I could for a moment, not just because I'm a man and it scares me to death, but because the surgeries and the procedures to go after prostate cancer are still pretty radical to me. You still have to have a robot. You never want a human taking out your prostate gland because there's so many side effects. And maybe the worst one being incontinence and things like that. And so you have to use robotic surgery. I know we're going to talk about robots in a moment, but every man, basically, if they live long enough, will have prostate cancer. So the saying goes, not saying that as a medical practitioner. And I know you're lowering the PSA. I'm assuming when you said we're going to lower the PSA by 50%, we're lowering the cancer by 50% too on that. But how do we do this in a way that is not so violent to men?
Yeah, I mean, I think it gets to earlier diagnosis of prostate cancer. And I think one of the big changes that we're seeing within healthcare broadly is that there is a greater focus on preventative care, early diagnosis of different diseases, perhaps than there was in previous generations. And so I think that we can talk about value-based care. That's another trend that we're excited about within healthcare. But I think initially it comes down to earlier diagnosis and then more targeted therapies that can avoid ultimately having to remove these glands, through a surgery, whereas you highlight there are the potential for significant complications after the surgery. But I think it is the big breakthrough in cancer that I should have highlighted in the last topic is our improved understanding of the different genetic drivers of certain types of cancer. We used to understand cancer, by understanding it, the tissue type it impacts, lung, kidney, prostate, for example. And I think now we're understanding the underlying genetic mutations that may cause certain types of cancer. And so I think that's what's leading to a lot of these breakthroughs in how we treat cancer. So I think within, prostate cancer, understanding that with a routine blood test now, you can measure PSA levels. Once those PSA levels become more elevated for those that have gone through this beyond the level of 3 and 4, where you typically start to worry about prostate cancer, then we can go through a more detailed screening process, potentially MRIs. And then with these new therapies coming to market, treat those cancers more effectively, having to limit the potential for a surgery down the road. So I think it is earlier detection, more awareness, but then, much more targeted therapies that can avoid the need for surgical intervention.